Hello, and welcome to another episode of A Transplant Tale. I'm your host, Sarah Adedeji, and this is my sister through my mister,
Tasha.
And today we're just going to be talking about her experience. So, Tasha, tell us about yourself. Where have you lived, and where do you currently live?
Okay, so my name is Tasha. I am 31 years old. I am originally from Chicago, and now I live in Texas.
So, what brought you to Texas?
My husband brought me to Texas.
So, how did you all meet?
Me and my husband met online originally in 2009. He has a different story, but I know the real story. So we met on Facebook in 2009, and at that time he was in a different country. He's from Nigeria, so he was still in Nigeria, and he requested me on Facebook. Then we would just say like hi or whatnot every now and again. And then I noticed, I think in like 2010 or 2011, I noticed that like his background had changed. He looked like he was in like America. So I'm like, oh, okay. Looks like he came over to America. And then we would, message each other on Facebook. Hi, how are you? Stuff like that. And then eventually we started following each other on Twitter. This was like late 2011, early 2012. And then we started talking a lot, Skyping, really getting to know each other. And then after we really got to know each other, he asked me out on November 2nd, 2012.
Oh, I love that you remember like all the dates. Yeah. So what was it about him that made you say, you know what, I'm going to move to Texas for you?
Well, originally we didn't know where we were going to end up. I probably thought in the back of my head that he was going to end up moving to Chicago, because that's where I live and that's where all my family is. But while we were dating, we would travel back and forth. Like at one point, he was living in Louisiana for school, and I would either fly to Louisiana or he would fly to Chicago or drive to Chicago. And then eventually, after he graduated from school, he relocated to Texas. That's where he got a job. And I would fly to Texas like a lot because it was so cheap, and I just loved the vibes of Texas. And then I don't know, I just felt like this was going to be home rather than Chicago because it was getting really dangerous in Chicago. So I just like the way Texas is. I like the vibes here, and I felt like this could be our home. And yeah, that's really how I ended up in Texas with my husband because he's here, and I love it.
Yeah. So what are like some of the main differences you see between like Chicago and Texas? I know you mentioned like the danger of Chicago, but I know there's like, a lot of cool things about Chicago too that maybe miss, or, some things that you're like, you know what, I'm okay without those. So what are some of those things?
I miss the food. But that's okay because Texas has like a lot of good foods, way more diverse than Chicago, I think. But luckily we have some Chicago restaurants down here, so I have a piece of home. I do like the city aspect of Chicago, but I also like the country feel of Texas, the spread out, the all the beautiful homes that are up and coming, the family vibes that are here, the diversity that's here. I really like that. I feel like Chicago is really segregated depending on the neighborhoods or the part of the city that you live in. And here, I feel like it can be segregated in some places, but in a lot of the places, it's really diverse and togetherness. That's what I really like about Texas. And of course, I'm always going to miss home. And, there's no place like home, but I am making this my new home.
I love that. And so when you found out that your husband got his job in Texas, I don't know, I'm saying like your husband, like I don't know who he is, but you know what I mean. Anyway,
yes.
You found out that he got the job in Texas. What were like the next steps that you took after like planning for your move? Like what did that process look like for you?
Well, after he got his job in Texas, this was after he graduated from college, and I was still waiting for him to propose, and that did take a couple of years, and eventually he did propose. We did our court wedding, and then I moved to Texas a couple of months after that, I believe. Um, it really wasn't planned on when I was going to move down to Texas. I just felt like one day I told my aunt who I was living with, like, "Ups, I'm moving to Texas next weekend," because I was,
Wow.
yeah. So it wasn't really like planned. And then the following year, we had our traditional wedding. So I thought I was going to move to Texas after my traditional wedding, even though we were already legally married. But I just got tired of moving. I meant flying back and forth. I'm just like, I just want to be with my husband. Like, so yeah, one random week, I was like, I'm moving to Texas. And I told my mom, of course, she was sad. I told my dad, he was just like, okay. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so, once you got here, like, what are some things you did to get settled? Like, did you have a job here? Like, how was that process?
Well, when I first moved here, I was a housewife for a couple
Oh,
of
we love
months.
that.
Yes, I was a
Enjoy
housewife.
while
I
it
know. It was short lived, but I was in the house majority of the time looking for jobs, and yeah, that's really what I was doing the first couple of months, looking for jobs, getting to know the area, transferring my ID and address and mailing address and stuff like that. That's basically what I was doing. Um, I can't recall everything that I did, but that's basically all that I did in church. Try to meet people at church and stuff.
Yeah. So, what are some ways? I know you mentioned church, but like, what are some other ways that you got connected and tried to? 'Cause you said you're making Texas your home. So, like, what was that looking like?
Well, I kind of made my husband's friends my friends because I'm really introverted, so it's kind of hard for me to make friends if like they don't like kind of like talk to me first, or and I go off of vibes and energy, and if I feel like the vibes and the energy just isn't there, then I can't connect or be your friend. So it's very hard for me to make friends because I'm also that type of person where I don't have a large circle. Like I only click with a few amount of people, and those people that I really click with are like my people. Yeah, so I don't have a large circle of friends. And the people that I click with, like I love them dearly. I'll do anything for them. Like they can always count on me. Like so, yeah.
Yeah. So, what are some things that you do for fun? I know you're introverted, but I know you don't stay in the house all the time either. So, what are some things that you
um,
do?
what do I do for fun? Um, that's kind of hard because I am kind of a homebody, but I do like to go to movies, go to the mall. I like to shop. I love to eat, of course, as you can see.
Girl stuff.
Yes, I love to eat. I like hanging with my husband. I like hanging with my close friends. I like road trips. I like traveling. I'm not very adventurous when it comes to like excursions and stuff like that. I'm that friend that's going to hold everybody's belongings when they're going on roller coasters or something scary because I'm afraid of heights. So yeah, so I'm not too adventurous. I'm just low key.
Yeah, good to get out. And I see like your all your foodie stuff on Instagram.
Yes,
So
I love food. I love posting about food. I love showing my food. Yes.
yeah, I love that. So, what is something that you feel like you learned about yourself during your transplant journey?
I definitely learned how strong I am because it's not easy being away from family, especially since I don't have any family here currently. So I definitely learned how strong I am because it can be lonely at times. So that's one thing I learned that I'm really strong.
Yeah, you are. And so, what is like a song or a scripture that kept you motivated, kept you encouraged, especially during those lonely times?
Definitely the scripture Matthew 6:34, which is do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Because I'm always thinking of tomorrow, because I have anxiety. So I'm always thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and wondering and pondering. about just everything. What could go wrong? What's going to happen? The day hasn't even come yet, and I'm just thinking of all the wrong and bad things that can happen. So, but that scripture has always um, I guess, held me down, I guess, and brought me back to reality or in the moment, brings me back into the moment that I shouldn't be worried or focused about tomorrow and just stay in the present.
Absolutely. That's real. And I definitely understand that, especially like, because it's just so much happening, so much coming at you, especially in that process of like moving and moving away from the people you love into someone that you love, but it's also the unexpected and the unknown and just like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? Like, so I definitely understand that.
For sure.
And appreciate that. So, how have you been able to adjust to the weather? Because I know the Midwest, being from the Midwest, is very, very cold. And Texas is not as cold, but how are you able to adjust to that? Do you prefer it? Like,
it was a piece of cake. I prefer Texas weather over Chicago weather or the Midwest up north weather any day, anytime. Of course, Chicago's winters are like some of the worst winters ever. Like the snow is up to your knees. You're having to dig out your car in the early morning, having to chip off ice. So don't have to do any of that here. Just get in your car, warm it up for a minute or two, and drive off.
Oh, that's real nice.
Yeah, you have like one or two icy days, but I mean, for the most part, it's cool.
Yeah. And so, with the whole process of like getting settled and everything, like, how are you able to like find a place to live? I mean, I guess Kenny took care of like some parts of that too because he was already here and you moved in. But like, what was your experience with that?
Okay, so before I moved to Texas, um, Kenny was staying in like it was like an apartment for students. So each student had their own room, but he wasn't a student. But I think everybody else was a student. They were adults though. So that's originally where he was living, and then we would go apartment shopping when I was still living in Chicago and would fly down. So we would like go to different townhomes and apartments, and then we finally found the townhome that we both loved, and we moved in. But he moved in because I was still living in Chicago, so he moved in by himself. And then, but I picked out the furniture and stuff like that. So it was like home away from home type of thing. Like it was still my place, but I was still living in Chicago. So, and then when I finally moved to Texas, that was the place that we stayed in for about 4 years. So,
Nice. That's really cool. And so, since you were like, you mentioned like most of your family lives in Chicago, and this is kind of like taking you out of your comfort zone a little bit. And you're also an introvert. So, what are some advice that you can give to somebody who's like trying to adjust to like being in a new place, and they may not be as like adventurous or outgoing? Like, what's some advice you can give them?
My advice would be to just go with the flow, I guess. If you have people at work that you can connect with, try to connect with them like in during work and outside of work, maybe. Um, I don't really know because, like I said, like I stole all my husband's friends.
Yeah.
So
To find a husband and steal their friends.
yes, that's right. So I don't know.
No, I feel like that's real though. Like, I feel like that's how introverts make friends is like connecting with that extrovert and then just like kind of building from there.
Yeah, stealing their friends.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. So, what's just some general advice you would give to somebody who's looking to move like from the Midwest to the South?
Expect a huge difference, a culture shock, because Southern people are very nice. They have nice hospitality. Up north or to the east, they're very cold and standoffish. But here, everybody's welcoming. They want to talk to you. They want to love on you. So I feel like it's a good change. It can be different if you're, a cold and standoffish person. You might not like it, but to somebody that's, loving um, and open-minded person, you would definitely love it down south. Yeah.
So what are some of the things that kept you like motivated and encouraged like as you were kind of just navigating through, and even still probably now, just like what keeps you motivated?
Um, Definitely God, my husband, family, myself. Yeah, those are the top things that keep me motivated and to keep going.
I love that. Anything else you want to say to the people before we sign off?
No, it was nice doing this interview or this having this conversation, getting my story out there.
Yeah, and thank you so much for joining us. And thank you all so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your story.
Yes.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of The Transplant Tale. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. See ya!